Hey, in this video, I'm going to show you how we can automate the creation of Facebook ads using Google VO3 and n8n. So here's an example of one that I made for the Liquid Death brand.
Oh, I'm a warrior.
All right, not bad for a one prompt shot. So not only are we going to generate these videos with Google VO3 API, but we're also going to reverse engineer existing ads on Facebook to use those as the basis for our new ads. So for example, here's a real Facebook ad by Liquid Death. All right, so this is what our ad is modeled off of. And how this works is we're gonna pipe in these Facebook ads into n8n. We're gonna use the Google Gemini API to watch and analyze the video, and then based on that video, generate a new prompt for the Google VO3 API. So we're leaning on existing Facebook videos to help kind of train our VO3 prompt to create videos in a similar style. So in this video, I'm gonna walk you through this entire automation and how you can set it up yourself inside of n8n. Before we get into the step-by-step, let me walk you through the kind of overall game plan of what we're doing. So again, this is all gonna start with existing Facebook ads in a Google Sheet. So you can fill up column B with existing ads that you kind of wanna mimic with VO3. And then what's gonna happen is we're gonna use Apify to go out and scrape that video URL from the Facebook ad library. We're gonna use an HTTP request node to download that video. And then we're gonna upload the video to Google Gemini, and we're gonna prompt Gemini to watch the video and kind of pull out some key elements that we're gonna look for. So that's this step over here. Then we're gonna format a prompt that we're gonna feed into the VO3 API. And down here is where we're generating the video. So we're gonna feed that prompt into VO3 and have the video created. And then finally, we're just gonna kind of clean up, download the video, and then upload it to Google Drive so we can send it back to ourselves here in Google Sheets. So if you haven't seen yet, these types of ads are kind of trending on X right now. Shout out to Salma. I saw her video first, and we're also gonna be using her JSON prompt as the basis for our VO3 prompt. So here's a video that she created that got over 1 million views. So the difference is she's just prompting from scratch while we're gonna use existing video ads in the Facebook ad library to act as our inspiration. And by the way, before we go any further, if you want access to this template for free, be sure to check out my free school community, AI Automation Made Easy. This is basically AI for marketers, where we teach you how to build AI agents and AI automations. Again, for marketers, agency owners, and solo founders. We've got a community of 2,600 other builders, and we have a free classroom where you can just find the YouTube video that you're watching, or you can search for it in the search bar. And in here, you'll find my n8n templates that you can just import into your own n8n. So again, if you want the template to this video for free, be sure to check out the community link below. All right, so to get started, you're gonna need a couple of different things. So number one, obviously, we're building this inside of n8n. Number two, I am using Apify to scrape these Facebook ads. We'll get into that in just a minute. So you're gonna need a free Apify account. You're also gonna need a Google AI Studio API key because we're gonna be uploading videos to Google. We're gonna be using the Gemini model to watch and analyze the video. So be sure you have a Google AI Studio API key. And then finally, the way that we're building this out, again, we're using real Facebook video ads as inspiration. So you're gonna wanna have some Facebook ad video URLs to plug into your Google Sheet. All right, so let's build this out step by step. So the first thing that I want to do is we're gonna just trigger this manually for now. You could have this run on a schedule, but just for demo, we'll do a manual trigger. And the way that this is gonna kick off is it's gonna read a Google Sheet that contains our Facebook ad library video URL. I'll explain how to get that. But what you want to do is first create your Google Sheet. Now, mine is very, very simple. I just have an ID with a number And then my second column is a video URL. I'll show you how to get that. And then column C is actually where we're gonna send the download link so you can keep track of all of your final videos. And that column is labeled final video. So just a Google Sheet with these 3 columns. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna add our first real node here, which is gonna be Google Sheets. And what we wanna do here is get row in sheet. So I'm gonna click onto that. And now what you're gonna do in n8n is map that spreadsheet that you just created. So you can see mine here is called VO3. So I'm gonna choose it from the drop down here. And then I just need to choose the sheet. There's only one sheet, so I'm just gonna select sheet 1. And now if I test this step, what it should show is that one row that I have in Google Sheet, it's got the video URL and it's got the final video. So when we run this again during this test, I'm gonna just remove that final video link. So it's gonna start this one from scratch and then output the new video here. So I just cleared that out. But our Google Sheet node is now all set. Actually, let me rerun that step so it clears out the final video. All right, so we've got our Google Sheet step. And now what we want to do is use Apify to scrape the Facebook ads. But before that, let me kind of explain the ad library here. So I'm in the Meta ad library, just Google it. All right, so this is the ad library. So I'll try to show you how I got to that liquid death. So on the drop down, I'm just gonna select all ads, and then you can search by keyword or advertiser. I'm gonna search for liquid death and choose the brand here. Now again, we're gonna kind of reverse engineer video ads. So I don't really need to see all of these text ads. So in the filter drop down under media type, I'm gonna select video. I'm gonna apply the filter there. And now I have a bunch of video ads that, again, we can kind of use as inspiration for our own VO3 ads. So let me look at this iced tea one.
I wanted to like it, but there's not even alcohol in it.
All right, so let's try to use this one for our inspiration. Now, when you find kind of an ad that you want to feed into VO3 or really feed into Gemini to watch and analyze the video, what you want to do is come up to these 3 little dots up here, and you're going to select this copy ad link. Now, let me come back to my Google Sheet here. I'll clear this out and we'll just start from scratch. Now, when I hit paste, this is what the ID looks like, right? So this is the Facebook ad library link to that specific ad. If I were to click this open, it would direct me specifically to that ad. So that's how you get the URL from Facebook ad library for a specific URL, because we're gonna need that to do the next step, which again is gonna be an Apify step. So inside of Apify, and let me just go into the Apify store here. So if you don't know what Apify is, it's basically a giant marketplace of different scrapers. So you can pretty much scrape anything: TikTok, Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube. What we want is a Facebook ad library. So I'm just going to search for Facebook ad. And the one that I want is this Facebook ads scraper that's actually maintained by Apify themselves. So we're going to use this to scrape this specific ad, and it's going to give us a URL that we can feed into an HTTP request to download that ad. So the way that we're going to set this up, and you can see mine's kind of already pre-configured here because I was playing with it before. In the interface, and I'm under manual here, what you want to do is just add some Facebook ad ID. We're going to swap this out for an expression later on, but you want to paste in an ad URL like mine over here. And then once that's done, we can come back to n8n and we can hit the plus sign. We can hit the HTTP request. All right, so this is how we're gonna call the Apify scraper. Now, the way that you can do this, and I actually think Apify may have just released a community node. I'm gonna do it the old school way, but I do think they just released that node. So the way that we're gonna connect this is in this API dropdown. I want you to click on API endpoints and then scroll down to the third actor. It's this one right here. You're gonna wanna copy this URL, and just FYI, this URL will contain your API key at the end of it. So I'm gonna copy this, and you can see Apify is telling us to make this a post request. So coming back into n8n for this HTTP request, we can call this Apify scraper. And then for the method, again, Apify told us to make this a post request. And this is where you're gonna paste in this URL, right? So I'm gonna copy that to my clipboard. I'm gonna paste it in kind of off camera because it has my API key. All right, so you can see I've pasted it in. So your method is post. Your URL should look like this. And then the last thing that we need to do is send over a body request. So I want you to check on this send body toggle. We're gonna keep JSON on here. And then for specify body, we're gonna do using JSON. And now we're gonna come back into Apify. Let me X out of here. And now in this JSON tab over here, you can click and copy and paste this code like this, come back into n8n, go into expression, and then in the box below, just paste that in like this. Now let me kind of open this up in full view here so you can see what we're looking at. So you can see we've got this kind of JSON code here from Apify, but we need to swap out this URL. We don't want this hard-coded in here. We don't want Apify scraping the same URL every single time. We want it scraping whatever we have in our Google Sheet. So the way that we can do that is click over to expression. Again, open this up in a full view. And so what we can do is delete the URL that's between these two quotes, okay? And we can drag in the video URL from the Google Sheet node, just like this, right between the two quotes. Now you can see that kind of auto-populate in green over here. Now, when I click out of here, we should be good to go, right? We've got our post method. We have our URL, which contains our API key. We've got our body parameter turned on to JSON, and we copied over this kind of JSON from the Apify setup. Now, if I click on execute step, you know, sometimes it takes 5 seconds and sometimes it takes 5 minutes, at least when I was testing this before, but I'm gonna execute this step and we'll come back to see what the output looks like. All right, so that came back pretty quick. So Apify is just scraping every single bit of information that you would want about this ad, including the text itself. But we really only need one thing, which is gonna be a URL that we're gonna send into the next node. So we can actually click out of here for right now. And I'm gonna add another HTTP request node to download the video. So let me just rename this to download Facebook ad. Our method is get, and for the URL, we need to find this inside of n8n over here. And what you wanna search for is video and then underscore SD. So we want the video SD URL. And so it's this first one here. So I'm gonna drag this into the URL field and you can see that populate in green. Now we need to do one other option down here in this node. So click on the add option drop down and then response. You wanna change the response format to file. And then for put output in field, we can leave this as data. Now, if I try to execute this step, what it should do is download that video URL from Apify, and you can see some data is coming in. Now, if I click on view, all right, so we're pulling in the actual video file from Facebook, right? So this is the real ad from Liquid Death. All right, now that we have that video file, what we're gonna do next is we're gonna feed it into Google Gemini, their video understanding capability, right? So you can literally feed videos into this model and it will watch the video. It'll listen to the sound. It'll watch whatever's on the screen. So this is the next step. We're gonna use this model to watch that Liquid Death Facebook ad. So before Gemini can watch our video, we just need to upload it to Gemini. We need to upload it to Google. So to do that, we're gonna use an HTTP request node. For the method, we're gonna do post, and we can rename this to upload to Gemini. Now for the URL, again, you can grab this template inside the community, but I'm gonna paste in this URL right here. And let me open this up. So it's this generativelanguage.googleapis.com. And let me actually add the equal sign. I almost forgot there. So this is the URL. And what you need to do is after that equal sign, you need to paste in your API key. So again, I mentioned Google AI Studio. You're gonna need to come here, and if you don't have an API key yet, just click on this button. You'll be able to create your API key. And then back in n8n, you want to paste your key after that equal sign. All right, so I've got my URL in there with my API key. The next thing that we need to do is we need to tick on send headers. We're going to do using fields below. And then for the name of this header, we're going to do content type. And then for the value, we're going to do video/MP4. And then the last thing that we need to do is we need to tick on the body to send the body. And then for the body content type, we want n8n binary file. And then for the input data field name, it's this name over here, which is just data. So type data into the box. And now let's see if we hit execute step. Let's see if this works. So again, this is going to start the process of uploading that video ad file to Google, right? And you can see this is working because the state is saying processing. So it's going to take, I don't know, 20 to 30 seconds to actually upload that file into Google. So let me click out of here. And what we're going to do is we're going to add a wait step. So again, it's going to take, I don't know, a couple of seconds for that video to get to Google. We can start with 10 seconds here because what we're going to try to do in the next step is now analyze that video with Gemini. So that's why we need the wait step. We just need to give it 10 seconds, I think is enough to get that file uploaded before we can try to analyze it. All right, so now we're gonna use the video understanding capability of Gemini. And if you wanna check out the docs, they are over here. And you can find, where we're getting the URL in different fields for n8n in the docs, but I'll just show you how to set it up quick in n8n. So we're gonna add another HTTP request node. We can call this one analyze video. So the method is gonna be post. And for the URL, again, you can grab this from the docs from Google. You can grab it from the template. You can take a screenshot of my screen right here. Again, you're just going to need to paste in your API key after the equal sign here. All right, so you've got your URL. So we need to tick on the headers again. And then same thing, using fields below. The name is going to be content-type. The value is application/JSON. And then we're going to send over a big body request or a big prompt that I'll talk through in just a second. So we need to tick on send body. Body content type you can leave as JSON. Specify body, you want to change this to using JSON. And you want to change this to expression. And let me just open this up. And now I'm going to just copy what I have from the finished workflow here, paste this in and explain what's going on. All right, so the first thing I need to do is fix this file URI expression because this was named differently in my previous version. So I think I just have mine called here, upload to Gemini. And actually, let me go back here. Let's execute on this wait step so the data can actually come over. All right, now that we executed that, we will see that come through. So let's go back to the analyze video step. Let's go back to the body and open that up as an expression. And now you can see that turn green. So I'm not going to talk through this entire expression. Again, you can grab it in the template, but we're basically passing in the file, the actual ad from Facebook, which is this file URI right here. And then this text is going to be the prompt for the Google model, the analyze video model. So this is what I'm instructing Gemini, the analyze video model, to do here. And again, I'm not going to go through this entire prompt, but I'm basically saying, please reverse engineer this video ad by creating a prompt that I can feed to Google VO3. So what I'm hoping to get out of this node is a prompt based on the video that I can then feed to Google VO3. And again, this whole section right here about the style and the elements and the motion, full credit here to Salma here. I used her prompt from this video as the inspiration. So again, that's in this JSON body down here. That should be good to go. So let's execute this step and see what happens. So again, we're passing in, let's see, did not put my API key in the URL. Let me remember to do that. And then let me try that again. All right, I got my API key in there. So again, we're passing in the video file, we're passing in that prompt, and we're basically telling Gemini, hey, watch this video, and I want you to generate a new prompt for me based on everything that I've told you, and I'm going to use this prompt to feed into VO3. And you can see how quickly it did that. And this is what we're going to use here. So this is the prompt that it generated based on that video and the context that I gave it. What we need to do next is really clean up this output. It took me kind of a while to figure out how to do this, right? We can't just pump this text as is directly into the VO3 API. It's just not clean JSON. It just didn't work when I tried to do it. So it took me a while to figure this out. And it took me 2 different steps to format this properly in order to feed into the VO3 API. So the first thing that we need to do is I'm going to add an LLM chain. So this basic LLM chain, and this is kind of part 1 of helping me format this prompt properly. So the first thing that I want to do is change this source for prompt from chat trigger to define below. And then for the user message, what I'm going to do is drag in the output from the analyzed video. So this is kind of the context, right? This is the prompt that Gemini generated for us. I'm going to tick on require specific output format, and we'll configure that in just a second. But first we need to add a system prompt here. Now let me open this up here. I'm going to paste this in, which came from ChatGPT. And we're basically asking this LLM to format or kind of rewrite the output from Gemini as valid JSON, right? So again, you can grab this prompt from the template, but what we need to do before we run this is go back to the chain. First, we need to select a model. I'm gonna select Claude 4 Sonnet. And then importantly, we need to select this output parser, which is gonna, again, help structure the JSON. So I'm gonna click on plus, I'm gonna click on structured output parser. And then in the JSON example box, I'm gonna clear this out and I'm gonna paste this in. Let me just blow this up a little bit. So this is kind of how the VO3 API will accept the prompt with these instances and the prompt and the parameters and the aspect ratio. So we're asking the output parser to basically take what, again, Gemini gave us and structure it in this way. So we can test this. Let me come back in here. Let me click on execute step, and we should get an output that looks something like this. All right, so again, we've got kind of a cleaned up prompt here, but again, in my multiple tests, even when I tried to feed this into the VO3 API as the prompt field, it did not accept it. So what I ended up doing was ask ChatGPT, and it gave me this code node here. So let me copy this to my clipboard. We're gonna add another node here, just a little code. So I'm gonna run this code. I'm gonna clean out the code that's in here. I'm gonna paste this in again. I basically explained to ChatGPT, I'm trying to pump this prompt into the VO3 API, but it's not working. And it eventually, after many back and forths, it landed on this code. Again, grab this from the template, but I'm gonna execute this step. And now it's gonna give me an output that should work when we need to feed the prompt into the VO3 API. So that's the code node over here. All right, now that we have our, hopefully, properly formatted prompts, we can start to generate the video with VO3. And again, the API docs are here if you want to check it out. This is where you can find the URL. Some of these other settings, but I'll walk you through these settings step by step in n8n. So what I'm gonna do is drag this code, the output here, down here. Let's start a new row, and we need another HTTP request node. So the method here is going to be post. The URL does not have my API key in it, not this one. Let me open this up and show you what we're using. Again, it's in the docs if you want to check that out, but you can see we're using VO3 model right here. And then I'm going to authenticate actually in the query parameters. So I'm going to tick on the query parameters using fields below. The name is going to be key. And the value, this is where you're gonna paste in that same API key you've been using the whole time. So I'll do that at the end, but importantly, we need to tick on this body, all right? So tick on send body. The body content type is gonna be JSON. Specify body, you wanna change that to using JSON. And the way that we're gonna pass that prompt in, again, this was all ChatGPT, is I'm just gonna paste in this. curly bracket, space, $, JSON, space, curly bracket, curly bracket. And you can see in the result here, it's going to pass in this entire prompt that hopefully is perfectly formatted for Google VO3. All right, so all I did was paste my API key in there off screen, and I can execute this from the canvas instead. So I'm just gonna click on this play button, and you can see it updated successfully. So let me open this up, remove my API key, and then show you what the result looks like. All right, so I open up the result, and this is exactly what you want. It's gonna say this models, VO3, generate preview operation, and then you're gonna get this kind of ID at the end of the URL that we're going to use in the following steps. But this is what a successful output looks like with the VO3 model. And we can also rename this to VO3 generate. So again, we're going to take this output and use it to check the status and then download the video in the following step. All right, next I'm going to add another wait node because it is going to take a little while for VO3 to generate the video. Just to be safe, I'm going to do 30 seconds and we can execute that step. And of course, when I try to run this, Google's telling me I'm sending too many requests to VO3. So instead of waiting for the Google API to unthrottle my account to finish this video, I think I'm going to pivot here. I'm going to go into the finished executions from the final build out and kind of just show you the rest of these nodes and what we're doing. So again, what I was saying before is that we're going to execute a wait step here for 30 seconds just to let Google finish creating that video. All right, so after that wait step, we're going to add another HTTP request, and I have this open in a screenshot with my API key blurred out. Let's look at what we're doing with this node. So here we're going to check the status of the video to see if it finished up. So this is going to be a get method. And then the URL you can see on my screen here. Again, you can grab the template below, but it's the generative-language.googleapis.com/v1beta/. And then what you're going to drag in here is this name field from the wait step. So I just dragged this field into here, and you can see how it populated in green. So we're not doing anything for auth. We're going to auth in the query parameters. So tick on the send query parameters using the fields below. Again, the name is going to be key and the value is your API key. And that's all you need to do there. And now when you execute on this step, what you should see is an output that looks similar to mine on the right over here. And importantly, what we're looking for here is this status, the done field. So you can see mine says true with a 30-second wait. That should be plenty of time. So what you're looking for again is done to say true. But if the video doesn't finish, we need to keep waiting until it does. So after the check status step, what I did here is I added an if node. So let me open this up. And then you can see here, the conditions I have is this field, which is done. So I dragged that field over here and I said is true. Okay, so if it's true, it's going to continue. And if it's not, I'll show you, we're going to drag it back to wait. But this is the if node. Again, it's this field that you're dragging over, this done field. And then we're setting that to is true. And then n8n is going to give you two different paths. So for the false path, what you want to do is you want to drag the false path. You can see that red line all the way back here to the beginning of the wait node. So if Google's not done creating the video, n8n is going to go back to wait. It's going to wait 30 more seconds. Then it's going to check the status again, and then it will check if it's true or false. If it's false, it's going to keep going until it's done. Now, for the true path, we're going to drag this into a new node, which is going to download the video. So this is going to be another HTTP request node. So what this node is going to do is we're going to download the video, and then we're going to just end up sending it to Google Drive and then Google Sheets, which is kind of optional. But let me show you again, I took a screenshot of this node, but this is an HTTP request node. So when you open that up, what you want to do is, again, very similar to what we've been doing before. The method here is going to be get. The URL, I can zoom in a little bit right here. Again, you can screenshot that, you can grab it from the template, but all it is I'm dragging in this URI field from the if node. So it's this field that I'm dragging right into here. And then again, same thing, we're gonna auth through the query parameters. So tick that on. The name is the same. It's going to be key, and then the value is your API key. Now, when you execute this step, what you should see here is an output that looks like this, which is showing a binary output with the data. So when I clicked view on that video, what you should see on your screen is the actual video file that was generated by VO3, and you'll be able to click the play button and actually play the video. Again, I'm sharing a screenshot because in my executions, my API key is exposed, but this is what it should look like for you. All right, now that we've got that video file, what we want to do is be able to upload the link to the video into Google Sheets. Now, in order to do that, there are a few steps involved with Google Drive. So it's these two steps right here. So this first node is a Google Drive upload file node. So let me just open this up. So I've got it connected to my Google Drive. The operation is upload. The input data field name is data, which matches this right over here. Again, it's mapped to my drive, and I just created a folder called VO3. And that's all you need to do. When you execute this step, you should see an output that looks like this. And there's really two links that we care about here, and you can choose whichever one you want. So there's the download link. So when you click that, it will immediately download the file onto your computer. And then there's the web view link. So when you click on that, it's gonna kind of open up the video inside of Google Drive itself. But before we can pipe one of those URLs into Google Sheets, we just need to make that file public. And to do that, we need another Google Drive node here. And this one is called share file. So let me open this up. Again, the operation is share. And then for file, we're going to use by ID. And you're going to drag in the ID field from over here into n8n like this. So it's going to show you the ID of your Google Drive file. And then for permissions, I have role set to reader. And then I have type set to anyone. And then when you execute on this step, your output should look like this. And now that that drive link is public, you can pump it into Google Sheets. Finally, so our last node is going to be an update row in sheet node. So let me open this up. Again, the operation is update row. You're going to pick your Google Sheet document. So mine is VO3. The column to match on is going to be ID. Remember, our first column here is ID. And then we want to have two values to update. So the ID, which is we're using it to match, we're going to grab that from that very first Google Sheet node. So that's this field right here. This ID field goes over here. And then for the final video column, what you're going to do is drag in the video link from the upload file node, right? So if we open this up, again, there's two different links. You can either do the download link, which is the web content link, which is what I have, or you can do the web view link, which again, when you click into it, you'll be able to view it inside of Google Drive. So whatever one you want to drag that into the final video column over here. And once you do that, the video file URL will be updated in the Google Sheet. So now you'll have the original Facebook ad URL, and then you'll have your final VO3 video URL that's inside of Google Drive. All right, I just checked again and Google is still throttling my account. But anyway, that's how you set this up inside of n8n with Apify and the Google APIs. We can take a source video from Facebook. We can have Google watch the video and generate a prompt based on it and then feed that prompt into VO3 to create some very interesting product videos. So if you enjoyed this demo, do me a favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave me a comment below. It really helps me out.